Comprehension 2, the 8th lecture. It's the last lecture in this course. Now, Comprehension 3, match the words to make a phrase from the text. Then read the text again and write the subject of each of the above phrases. Here the exercise is done. Here we have words from number 1 to number 5. And we have letters from A to E. So work matched with work for a post office. And the subject here, Charlie. Charlie works for or worked for a post office. Employ lots of extras. A film company employed lots of extras. Scream when there is a fire. So extras scream or screamed when there was a fire, or extras scream when there is a fire. Act in front of the cameras. The subject here, the film or the stars here, the stars or the film stars. Set up the recording equipment. Here the subject, the film crew. Now grammar. Used to. Verb be. Used to plus verb plus ing. Be used plus verb plus ing form means that something is familiar and no longer stranger. Examples: I'm used to drive. I'm used to drive. Or I'm used to driving because I'm used to traveling a lot. I'm used to driving because I'm used to traveling a lot. Here, subject I, verb to be am, used, plus to, plus verb drive, plus verb drive with ing. Also, because I am used to traveling a lot, am, used, plus verb, plus traveling, verb travel plus ing. Another example here, we are used to getting up early. We do it every day. Sarah is used to working late at the office. They are used to finding jobs. I'm not used to having a lot of money. I'm used to doing nothing. So, verb be, used to, plus verb plus ing is used, or this form means that something is familiar and no longer stranger. So here we have an exercise. Complete this sentence with used to plus the verb in the practices to make true statements about the text. For example, students aren't used to have between practices. So we use verb have in this structure. Verb be, used to, plus verb have plus ing. So we say students, subject, aren't used to having short summer holidays. Charlie is used to working in the summer. To working in the summer. Film companies are used to employing extras. To employing extras. Charlie is used to working in films. Charlie is used to waiting for 3 hours. Camera operators are used to filming the same scene many times. Charlie is used to meeting famous film stars. Famous film stars. So here we have verb be, used to. Of course, verb be, it changes according to the subject. If the subject plural, we use are. If the subject singular, we use is. So students aren't used to having short summer holidays, but Charlie is used to working in the summer. Now, grammar 2. Use the prompts below and write some true sentences about yourself. Number 1. live away parents. So in this exercise, we should use verb be, used to, plus verb plus ing. Number 1, we have verb live away, parents. So, to make true sentence about yourself, so you should say, am used to living away from my parents, or I'm not used to living away from my parents. Number 2, talk foreign students English. I'm used to talking to foreign students in English, or I'm not used to talking to foreign students in English. Get up early weekends or weekend. I'm used to getting up early in weekends, or I'm not used to getting up early in weekends. Meet famous people. I'm used to meeting famous people, or I'm not used to meeting famous people. 5. Live big city. I'm used to living in a big city, or I'm not used to living in a big city. Affective skills. Pre-reading. It's a pre-reading stage. Match the names of the jobs with the descriptions. Number 1, a checkout operator. So the answer is B. It's matching exercise. So B, a person who works in a supermarket. Number 2, a grape picker. A grape picker. C, a person who works outside, usually in the summer. They pick fruit. Number 3, a bin man. A person who collects rubbish. So, number 3, we should match it with E. Number 4, a factory worker. A factory worker. D, a person who works inside. They often use machines. Number 5, a gardener. Number E, a person who works outside all year round. They grew plants and flowers. So here we have summer jobs. A title have a text have a title, summer jobs. Paragraph 1. 5 students are talking about temporary work they did in the summer. Summer jobs. One summer holiday, I worked in a factory. At the beginning, I was really pleased because the money was good. However, I had to do the same thing every day and it became very boring. I tried to think about interesting things, but this didn't help. The time went by so slowly. When I thought it was time of lunch, I realized it was only 10 o'clock. I had a contract for a month's work, but I left after a week. Here we have some words that need to be illustrated here. Contract, it's a noun. A contract is an official written agreement between a person and a company, agreement between two people. So contract is an official written agreement. Pleased is an adjective. Pleased, feeling happy about something. When you feel happy about something, so you are pleased. Pleased. Now, word derivation. Contract can be a noun and can be a verb. Pleasure is a noun, but please is a verb. So now, return back to paragraph 1. One summer holiday. One of the 5 students says that one summer holiday he worked in a factory. He says that at the beginning he was really pleased because the money was good. So he says that when he worked in a factory, at the beginning he was really pleased because the money was good. However, so when we find however, this means that the following sentence contrasts with the first one. However, I had to do the same thing every day and it became very boring. So when every day he had to do the same thing, so that makes or made him felt bored. He became very boring. I tried to think about interesting things, but this didn't help. The time went by so slowly. When the job boring, so a person, someone feels that the time goes by so slowly. Why the time went by so slowly? Because the job was boring. When I thought it was time of lunch, I realized it was only 10 o'clock. So he says that when he thought it was time of lunch, this means that when he thought it was 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, time of lunch, it should be at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, or sometimes 3, 4 o'clock. He realized it was only 10 o'clock. So he says that he had a contract for a month's work. He should work for a month, but I left after a week. So he stayed at a job only 1 week. Only 1 week. He didn't finish 1 month in this job. Now, paragraph 2. Another student says, I don't like being inside. When I'm sitting in lectures at university, I'm always staring out of the window and wanting to be outside. So I was really pleased when one holiday I get a job as a gardener in a large park. The work was quite hard, and at the end of the day was very tired. I was very tired, but that was fine. There were so many things to do with the plants, trees, and the grass. I was lucky too, because the weather was warm and sunny. We are going to see word definitions. Stia, verb, to look at somebody or something for a long time. Weather, it's a noun, the condition of the atmosphere at a particular place and time. Word derivation, noun, steer. The same word steer can be used as a verb. Also weather, it can be a noun and it can be a verb. So, paragraph 2. I don't like being inside. One student says that he doesn't like being inside. So he says that when he is sitting in lectures at university, he is always staring out of the window and wanting to be outside. So the case of this student that he hates to be inside buildings. He likes to be outside. So I was really pleased when one holiday I get a job as a gardener in a large park. So he was pleased when he gets a job as a gardener in a large park because he likes to be outside, not inside. The work was quite hard. Of course, working in a garden is hard. So he says the work in a park was quite hard, and at the end of the day, he was very tired. But that was fine, even though he was pleased and says that was fine. There were so many things to do with the plants, trees, and the grass. He has many things to do with the plants, trees, and the grass. I was lucky too, because the weather was warm and sunny. He says that he was lucky because the weather was warm and sunny. The weather was not cold, was not rainy, so that he was lucky because the weather was warm and sunny. Now, word definitions here. Steer, verb, to look at somebody or something for a long time, whether and so I explained. Now, paragraph 3. I needed to pay for a holiday. This is the third student says that he needed to pay for a holiday. So I decided to take a job in the local supermarket for a few weeks. I didn't really want to do the job, but there was no other work. I really didn't want to put things on shelves and stand up all day. However, I worked as a checkout operator, so that meant I could sit down. It was only for a few weeks, so it was fine, and I was really interested in what people bought. Now, word definitions: local, adjective, belonging to or connected with the particular place or area that you are talking about. Local man means belonging or connected with the particular place or area we are talking about. So local is an adjective. Shelf, it's a noun, plural of shelf, shelves, because we have a number of nouns in F, form their plural by dropping the F and add VES. Shelf, shelves, wife, wives, thief, thieves, loaf, loaves, and so on. So shelf is a singular noun, plural shelves. What does mean shelf or shelves? A flat board made of wood, metal, or glass fixed on the wall or cupboards to place things on it. Now, word derivation: local, it can be a noun. Local, it can be a verb. Need, it can be a noun and it can be a verb. Payment, noun. Pay, verb. Want, it can be a noun and it can also be a verb. Now, paragraph 3 again, to illustrate everything here in this paragraph. Some student says, I needed to pay for a holiday. So he needed money for a holiday, so that he decided to take a job in the local supermarket for a few weeks. So to get the money for a holiday, he decided to work in the local supermarket for a few weeks. I didn't really want to do the job. He didn't really want to do the job, but there was no other work. But because there was no other work, he accepted to work in the local supermarket. But there was no other work. I really didn't want to put things on shelves and stand up all day. He didn't want to work in the supermarket because he didn't like to put things on shelves and he didn't like to stand up all the day. However, I worked as a checkout operator. So he worked in the supermarket as a checkout operator. So that meant I could sit down. So he was pleased to be checkout operator because when he was a checkout operator, he didn't need to stand up and he could sit down. It was only for a few weeks, so it was fine. And I was really interested in what people bought. So he worked only for a few weeks, and he says it was fine. He was really interested in what people bought. Now, paragraph 4. One September, I went to France to pick grapes. Here, the fourth student now spoke. One September, I went to France to pick grapes. I wanted to work for a fortnight and then spend the money I earn on a holiday. For the first few days, it was very tiring work. The grapes were heavy and I walked a lot. Then, for the rest of the time, it rained every day and I didn't get paid. I didn't get paid for not working. So at the end of the 2 weeks, I didn't have enough money to stay. That was a shame. Now, word definitions. Pick is a verb. To take flowers or fruit. To take flowers or fruit from trees. That's what does mean verb pick. Fortnight, 2 weeks. Fortnight, 2 weeks. Shame, adjective. The feelings of sadness, embarrassment, and guilty that you have when you know that something you have done is wrong or stupid. So shame, it's an adjective. Now, word derivations. Noun and verb. Rain can be a noun. We can say the rain is good or the rain is heavy. And we can use rain as a verb. We say it rained heavily last winter. It rained heavily last winter. So, or we can say the rain poured heavily. It's a noun here. But when I say it rained heavily, rained, it's a verb here in the second example. And it can be a noun and the same spelling END can be a verb. So, the end of the film, for example, was tragic, for example. Or we say, they ended their job late, or they here. So, end can be a noun and it can be a verb. Shame, the same thing. It can be a noun and it can be a verb with the same spelling and pronunciation. All these words, rain, end, shame, pick, with the same spelling and with the same pronunciation, can either be nouns or verbs. Shame can be a noun and it can be a verb. Pick, it can be a noun and it can be a verb. Opposites, the opposites. Earn is a verb. The opposite of earn, spend. Heavy, an adjective. So he says that somebody says that grapes were heavy. So heavy, adjective. The opposite of heavy, light. Light. Stay, stay at home. It's a verb. The opposite of stay, leave. He left home early. Or they usually leave home early. So stay, the opposite of stay, leave. Shame, it's a noun. The opposite of shame, honor. Now, paragraph 4. My worst summer job was working as a penman. First of all, I had to set off very early because we started work at 6 a.m. It was only very smelly work. It was also very smelly work. Some of the bins were disgusting and I didn't want to touch them. The lorry smelled very badly too. Moving the bins was also quite difficult if they were very heavy. I always had a long hot shower at the end of the day. The money was great, though, so I worked for a full month. So, sit up means get up or wake up. Smelly adjective means having an unpleasant smell. Worst adjective, superlative of bad, of the poorest quality or lowest standard. Again, sit off, it's a verb, means get up or wake up. Smelly adjective, having an unpleasant smell. Worse is an adjective, the superlative of bad. Here, bad is an adjective. Comparative of bad, worse. Superlative of bad, worst. So, the meaning of worst, of the poorest quality or lowest standard. Where derivation, here we have only one. Smell, it can be a noun and it can be a verb. Opposites, the opposites, worst adjective, the opposite of worst, best, which is also adjectives. Best is the superlative of good. Good, comparative of good, better, superlative of good, best. Sit off, it's a verb. Opposite of sit off, verb sleep. Early, it's an adjective. Early, opposite of early, late. We say, I usually get up late, early, sorry. For example, I usually get up early, but my daughter gets up late. So early, late, they are opposites. Smelly, smelly, it's an adjective. The opposite of smelly, fragrant, fragrant adjective. Difficult is an adjective. The opposite of difficult, easy, easy. Now we need to read paragraph 4 again. Another student says, my worst summer job was working as a penman. A penman. In the pre-reading step, we know who is a penman. A penman, sorry. A penman is a man who collects rubbish. So one student says that his worst summer job was working as a penman. First of all, I had to set off very early because we started work at 6 a.m. So he says that one of the problems of his summer job that he get up very early because the penmen started work at 6 a.m. a.m. means at 6 morning, at 6 o'clock in the morning. It was also very smelly work. So it here refers to the job as a penman. So it was also very smelly work. So he describes his work or his job as a penman as a smelly work. Means work has an unpleasant smell. Some of the bins were disgusting, and he didn't want to touch them because the bins were disgusting, very dirty, and he didn't want to touch them. The lorry smelled very badly too. He says that the lorry that collects the rubbish that the penman put the rubbish inside smelled very badly too. He also says that moving the bins was also quite difficult if they were very heavy. So he says that when they move bins, the job became very hard, very difficult because bins were very heavy. I always had a long hot shower at the end of the day. So he says that he always had a long hot shower when he ended his work at the end of the day. He says that the money was great. This means that he was paid a good amount of money. The money was great means his salary that he got was good, was great. So I worked for a full month. Because the money was good, was great, he worked for a full month, for a whole month. Okay. Now we need to read all the text all together. So, paragraph 1, summer jobs. One summer holiday, I worked in a factory. At the beginning, I was really pleased because the money was good. However, I had to do the same thing every day and it became very boring. I tried to think about interesting things, but this didn't help. The time went by so slowly. When I thought it was time of lunch, I realized it was only 10 o'clock. I had a contract for a month's work, but I left after a week. I don't like being inside. When I'm sitting in lectures at university, I'm always staring out of the window and wanting to be outside. So I was really pleased when, one holiday, I get a job as a gardener in a large park. Work was quite hard, and at the end of the day I was very tired. But that was fine. There were so many things to do with the plants, trees, and the grass. I was lucky too, because the weather was warm and sunny. Another student says I needed to pay for a holiday, so I decided to take a job in the local supermarket for a few weeks. I didn't really want to do the job, but there was no other work. I really didn't want to put things on shelves and stand up all day. However, I worked as a checkout operator, so that meant I could sit down. It was only for a few weeks, so it was fine, and I was really interested in what people bought. One September, I went to France to pick grapes. I wanted to work for a fortnight and then spend the money I earned on a holiday. For the first few days, it was very tiring work. The grapes were heavy and I walked a lot. Then, for the rest of the time, it rained every day and I didn't get paid for not working. So at the end of the 2 weeks, I didn't have enough money to stay. That was a shame. My worst summer job was working as a penman. First of all, I had to sit up very early because we started work at 6 a.m. It was also very smelly work. Some of the pens were disgusting and I didn't want to touch them. The lorry smelled very badly too. Moving the pens was also quite difficult if they were very heavy. I always had a long hot shower at the end of the day. The money was great, though, so I worked for a full month. Now, general understanding. Choose the correct ending, from A to E, to make sentence about the text. Number 1, the factory worker. Here the answers are ready. The factory worker matched with number D. Left the job early because he had a contract for a month's work. He left after a week. So the factory worker matched with B left the work early. Number 2, the gardener. The gardener really liked the job because he says every day there are many things to do with the plants, trees, and the grass. So he was pleased. He really liked the job. So the gardener matched with number A. Between the brackets, you can see it. The checkout operator matched with E. Was pleasantly surprised by the job. Was pleasantly surprised by the job because he liked it or he was pleased about what people bought. And he became a checkout operator and he could sit down. Number 4, the grape picker. Here matched with number C. The grape picker was disappointed because he didn't get money because he didn't work. There were heavy rain so that he couldn't work. When he didn't work, he didn't paid. He wasn't paid. So he lost his money and he was disappointed. So number 4, the grape picker was disappointed. 5, the pen man. The pen man matched with B really hated the job. The pen man really hated the job because the pen man said the job was smelly. The pens here were heavy. It was smelly and hard job. So he really hated the job. Reading for details. Choose the correct sentence for each of the jobs. Number 1 here, each item has A and B. And we are going to choose A or B. The underlined number is the answer that is the correct sentence for each of the jobs. So you can see that number 1 here, the underlined one, B. But I am going to read A. A, the time went slowly, so I had lunch at 10 o'clock. Or the job was really boring, so the time went very slowly. So the correct sentence from the text, number B. So one student says that the job was really boring, so the time went very slowly. He says that when I think it was lunchtime, I realized that it was 10 o'clock. He didn't say that he had lunch at 10 o'clock. So the correct sentence is B. Number 2 also here we have A and B. But the correct answer is A. Working in a park was hard work, but there were lots of interesting jobs to do. It's correct. So one student says that the work was hard in a garden, but he says there are many things to do with the plants, trees, and the grass. So number 2, A is the correct sentence. We are going to read also B, and we know what's the wrong with B. Working in a park was easy, but the weather was good. Here there is a mistake because the student didn't say working in the park was easy. He says working in the park was hard, was difficult. So that B is incorrect. So for number 2, the correct sentence is A. Number 3. A. I worked in a supermarket because there weren't any other jobs. That's exactly what one student who worked in the local supermarket said. He said, I didn't like the job, but there was no other jobs. There were no other jobs. So A is the correct. I worked in a supermarket because there weren't any other jobs. So I'm going to read B. I worked at the checkout because I wanted to stand up. Here it's wrong. It's incorrect. The student says, I didn't want to work in the supermarket because I didn't like to put things on shelves and I didn't want to stand up. He didn't want to stand up, not he wanted to stand up. So B is incorrect for number 3. Number 3, the correct sentence for number 3 is A. Now, number 4. A. I picked grapes while I was on holiday in France. B. I didn't get any money while I wasn't working. So I picked grapes while I was on holiday in France. I didn't get any money while I wasn't working. It's the correct number 2. Number 2, I didn't get any money while I wasn't working. It's correct. Number 5, A. Although the job was really bad, I worked for 4 weeks. You can see that A is underlined. Number 5 is about a student who worked as a bin man. So number A is correct because he said the job was really bad, the job was smelly, the job was difficult. He had to get up very early because the work started at 6 a.m. So although the job was really bad, I worked for 4 weeks. Yes, he worked for 1 month because the money was good, was great. So number A is the correct sentence. We look at number B. Although the bins were heavy and smelly, it wasn't a difficult job. So it's wrong because a bin man says that the bins were heavy and smelly and the job was a difficult one. A difficult one. Vocabulary in context. Find the words or phrases in the text that the students use. Number 1. A noun that means a written formal agreement. You can see that the answer is written in bold. Contract. Contract. A verb that means, number 2, a verb that means to look at somebody or something for a long time. Steer. Steer. It's a verb. You'll see it's written in bold and underlined. Number 3, an adjective that means in the place where you live. Local. 4, an adjective that means 2 weeks. Fortnight. 5, A noun that means to begin a journey. Set off. Number 6. An adjective that means very unpleasant, horrible. Disgusting. Disgusting. So we come to the end. It's the last lecture. I wish you good luck. Goodbye.